AskReddit by Fluffy Upvote. Serious, what is the fastest way you have seen someone ruin their life? Attention. Serious, tag notice. Jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted. https://www.reddit.com/r/wiki/wiki_rule_6- in any comment parent or child. Parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit. Message compose !r AskReddit if you have any questions or concerns. A guy I met several times around our group of friends back in the days joined ISIS. We were all shocked by this news. No one could have predicted that. He literally exploded himself 2 or 3 months after, but no casualties. He was shot by the coalition. Remember, if they ask you to suicide bomb, it should be taken as a high insult. They are saying you have nothing to offer and losing you is fine. They are not asking anyone with useful skills or knowledge to suicide, and definitely not anyone with military experience. They don't think you are even worth trying to train. I wouldn't call them friends by any means, but an acquaintance and his girlfriend did a dine and dash, and their server followed them outside and stood in front of their car to prevent them from leaving until the police arrived. Stupid move on the server's part for sure, but all the same this acquaintance ran the server over and hit like 2 or 3 parked cars in the process getting out of the parking lot. So yay, they totaled their car, multiple other cars, and they both caught multiple felony charges. Both of them had priors too, ended up pleading, and as far as I can recall they both got roughly 5+ year sentences, over $40 meal. Maybe not 100% life ruining, but I'd say over $40 it's proportionally pretty fucking stupid. A close friend of my best friend grabbed his 8-year-old son's new skateboard and took off down a hill in Georgia. Hit a rock, landed on his head and had permanent brain damage. He lived years before he mercifully died. Had to be restrained the whole time because the damage made him erratic and violent. Wear a helmet. Yeah, my stepbrother fell on a longboard and his friends didn't call an ambulance because they were high. Went into a coma in his sleep and was never the same. Died recently, RIP. Watched a guy gamble $30k away in a night and then cried about losing his life savings, and security had to get involved and escort him out because he started to get angry at the dealers because all they could offer him was free night stays at the hotel for playing so much, but he wanted free play at the tables slots and they refused. Any money you plan to gamble should be money you already consider spent and gone. One of my best friends was close to finishing his BA, got career plans, money, was physically fit. Everything was fine, but then on New Year's Eve night he went into a famous nightclub in Berlin, bought some drugs and then jumped from the 7th floor. Either he bought something he wasn't familiar with or the drugs were laced with something stronger. Anyway, security cameras have him aimlessly wandering the floors of his 20-story apartment building, and I guess he got paranoid and wanted out, so he jumped. Apparently he didn't die instantly but slowly bleed out over the next 30 minutes. But since this happened shortly after midnight, nobody noticed because of all the noise and fireworks. They found his body around 4 AM and ruled it suicide. Don't do drugs, it's not worth it. Dude I know won a $3 million settlement from being hit by a car. Spent it all on heroin and was dead within 3 years. Under 30 years old. Edit. Wow, this really blew up. To answer some of the questions I see in the thread. I don't think he got hooked on opioids due to the accident. This guy did a lot of weed and shrooms and occasionally coke even before the settlement. The money just allowed him to graduate to heroin. How'd he spend all that money? Sadly, he had a bunch of addict friends who he enabled. He'd treat them to free heroin at these lavish parties. There was a similar case in a city close to me. Guy won 15 million on a lottery ticket. Dude was homeless basically. He spent all the money in 5 years. They found him hanging from the rafters in a garage of a house he'd bought with the money. A previous classmate of mine robbed and shot a taxi driver in the back of the head when he was 17-14. Edit. I remembered incorrectly. The classmate was 14 at the time. Pretty sure he had dropped out of school, but this was close to 30 years ago. There was a 17-year-old accomplice that planned it but didn't actually pull the trigger. If you want to Google it, LeVar Jones Lancaster PA should do the trick. Hope he enjoyed his $200. Source, was a taxi driver. My cousin, 18F, finished her senior year early, so she was basically just waiting for me to do the graduation and get her diploma. She worked at a lake restaurant and had started hanging out with a bad crowd. At this time she had been smoking a lot of weed and drinking, as well as just being generally reckless all the time. She was my best friend, so she texted me to tell me about everything she did basically. One night she texted me to tell me that she had tried meth and it was the best high of her life, but she will never do it again. Exactly 1 month after that text she overdosed and died. They put her portrait in her graduation seat and her dad got to walk and pick up her diploma. I boofed it once and was addicted immediately. Not addicted because I enjoyed it, but I was physically addicted. Lungs would get uncomfortably cold and tight. I did it one more time after that, but I managed to never do it again. Meth is no joke. A friend of mine drove his bike without helmet. Had the helmet, didn't bother to wear it. It was late at night. We were having a party at my home and he was coming to join us. It had rained earlier so the roads were wet. His motorbike unfortunately slipped and he fell, hitting his head on the curb. Some passerby called the ambulance. We got to know about it early in the morning from his parents. His head trauma caused him to go into a coma. He never came back from it. He was in a coma for a few months and then sadly passed away. He was a chill dude. If only he wore the helmet while driving. Rest easy D. Edit. He was an avid biker. Drove his bike across the country all the way to the Himalayas. He used to wear helmet all the time except for that fateful night. I was having a party at my home. You know, BBQ, beer, whiskey and all that. He was gonna join us after work. He had the helmet on him even that day. I will never know why he decided to not wear it that day. 1 use of meth. Seen so many people and friends jump right off the deep end by just trying it, and after 20 years have yet to jump out of the self-made dumpster fire that is their life. Nasty shit, meth. I think I got extremely lucky here. I got kicked out of my house once for something else. Must have not been that big a deal if I can't remember. My parents were hella strict. Anyway, I went to a friend's house. A house we all always just show up to when we're bored. His parents were never around. And the few people that were there when I got there were about to smoke meth. I said fuck it, why not, and joined them. After taking 1 hit I didn't want any more and went downstairs. I felt super sleepy so I lied down on the couch and passed out. Woke up an hour later and thought that drug was useless and never touched it again. Unfortunately, every single one of those people that were in that room with me, who helped me smoke that meth or la, were either doing time, lost their mind or dead. Watched a buddy spend his entire life savings betting on the Paulo Costa Visa de Sanaya. I begged him not to do it and he lost his and his wife's entire 60k nest egg. She left him immediately with the kids and now he lives at his mom's house. Edit. Wow, this blew up. So a little more backstory. He had been betting on prize fighting for a short while and winning. Nothing outrageous, and heck I even bet with him on a time or two because it was smaller bets, 1-200. He had been winning, probably made a few grand, not sure how much, but he was always saying he won and showing off his bets. So I can confirm he had been winning and his luck was pretty impressive. As far as I know he doesn't gamble anymore and is just trying to rebuild his life. He lost his wife but does spend a lot of time with the kids. Holy shit, he bet on Costa ? That somehow makes it even worse. A senior girl from my college pushed another girl she was friends with off a 30-foot bridge into water as a joke, broke her neck and collarbone, and she's permanently in a wheelchair. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up while I was asleep. I'll answer some questions. 1. I got feet and meters mixed up, only around 30-foot drop. 2 days in hospital for her friend, 2 days in jail for the girl who pushed her. She spent the same time in jail as the victim spent in hospital. It's fucked up. 3. The parents of the victim chose not to press charges. 4. It was not Taylor Smith. 5. I've seen similar stories online but successfully found the actual story. It's not the one that went viral. Woman paralyzed after being pushed. 25,291,101. I remember seeing that on the news. Didn't she leave when she realized the other girl was seriously hurt? Or am I thinking of a different story? Edit. I'm thinking of Taylor Smith pushing Jordan Holgerson off a 50-foot bridge after Jordan hesitated when she was going to jump. Jordan broke 5 ribs and both her lungs were punctured, and Taylor just left the scene after pushing her. Arrive at work on their first day as a temp at around 10 AM. Caught stealing the boss's wallet at 12:30, taken away by police at 1 PM. Obviously I'm overthinking this, but boy, it sure seems it would be easier pickpocketing strangers in a crowd. My sister started doing meth and heroin. She went from super smart to completely dumb. By the age of 19 she was already a felon. No one in the family wants to help her anymore, cause each time we tried, either sending her to rehab or tried getting her sober, she would just go back to it. Was supposed to go to college, but now she's 22 and stays at different people's houses and begs people for money. Completely cut me and everyone else off from her cause she thinks us trying to help her is us being jealous and not wanting her to be happy in life. It's a rough life. My brother went through the same cycle. We lost him to an overdose last October. He would have been 35 the next month. Have a friend who had a drinking problem and got into an argument with a gas station worker while drunk. The worker tried stopping his car by standing in front of it and my friend ran him over and killed him. Wife, career, freedom, everything lost. Honorable mention, the gas station worker. A high school friend drove drunk and killed the local doctor of a small town. Last I heard, he was still in prison. High school student, graduated at the time, drove a classmate of mine home from prom, crashed and killed classmate. Driver becomes a paraplegic, goes to prison. Gets out, driving disability modded van, gets in another accident, and kills another woman passenger. Second one was a DUI. He was at fault for the first bit, I'm unsure if DUI. The kid in the National Guard posting govt secrets online for internet cred. Oh yeah, what happened to him after that? I saw he was arrested but not the outcome. I wound up having to change the number for my first real cell phone, because the previous owner of that number still kept giving it out. Apparently she had just moved, and her old job couldn't get a hold of her to send her her last check. Her new job couldn't get a hold of her to get her schedule. Her vet couldn't get her to pick up her cat. I got calls from her leasing company who needed documentation to secure her apartment. Every single day was some new way an idiot was fucking up her finances, her housing, her job, her pets, her social life, all because she couldn't remember her new phone number. After a month I finally got fed up and had the number changed. Melissa, if you were supposed to be a massage therapist for the PGA Tour in 2013, I hope you eventually got your shit together. Some people had a similar thing happen with my first smartphone. New contract, new number which had previously been owned by some women active in all sorts of social and theatrical groups in Berlin. I got added to so many WhatsApp groups and get called a night for whatever reason. I dutifully replied, I'm not that woman. Please inform everyone to it all. Initially, people ignored it. Only stopped when I was made admin for one of those groups and changed its name from like Matilda's birthday party to like sex toy tryout night. Bring your own disinfectant. I was 23 and found that funny. The construction to amphetamines pipeline. I've seen 2 very good and competent men fall to absolute ruin in the space of 4 months because of this. I was going to say cocaine, but this fits the bill too. My daughter's boyfriend, the 4th of July, 2023. Hopped in his car blackout drunk to come see my daughter. DUI and hit and amp, run. He is just about to begin a painful, life-altering process. This reads like a literary shotgun racking sound. The guy who got angry playing basketball and smashed his head, leaving him paralyzed. Edit. This or equals share and amp. UTM medium equals Android app and amp. UTM name equals Android x and amp. UTM term equals 1 and amp. UTM content equals 1. I saw that. Of the many things I've seen, that one was one of the hardest. Broke his C6 vertebrae, I think. I watched this clip on Reddit where these 2 kids were posing with a gun. The girl in the video accidentally shot the boy in the head. She panicked and shot herself. That shit changed me. It all happened so fast. I don't think the clip was longer than 30 seconds. Yeah, I saw that on the WPD website a bit ago. Very sad because the whole family comes rushing in and you can hear them screaming. Former friend of mine was arrested for soliciting an 11-year-old for sexual favors online and traveling across states to meet her. I never expected him to do that. His girlfriend at the time asked if I wanted to be a character witness and I noped out before she finished her sentence. Judge made an example out of him and sentenced him to life. Apparently it wasn't his first SAR offense. I can't believe she even stuck around to even consider looking for people to testify on his behalf. Edit. He got the girl to do stuff to him in his car. He was only caught after her friend saw pictures of her boyfriend and realized he was way too old to be an 11-year-old's boyfriend and told the girl's mother. He was 31 when he was sentenced. I'd be a character witness. I just might not give him the glowing testimony he was hoping for. I knew someone who had a full scholarship to an in-state university. He got addicted to heroin, overdosed, fell into a coma, and now he's confined to a wheelchair and has the mental capacity of a toddler. It happened within 2 or 3 years. Holy fuck. And this thread is 50% drug stories. Scary stuff. My father-in-law is 65. Was married to his wife for 37 years and has 3 daughters. The picture perfect family from the outside looking in. He was well respected in his career field and was also an interim pastor deacon at our local church. After he retired, his health started to deteriorate drastically and he started drinking. This past November we learned that he had fell for a love scam on Facebook and had spent his entire life savings, took out a second mortgage on his home, and opened up numerous credit cards to send this fake person money. All in all, he sent them roughly $300k. He was truly convinced she was going to move here from overseas and they were going to ride off into the sunset, leave everything behind, and live happily ever after. Now he is divorced, lives in a crummy apartment about 45 minutes from his family, and is miserable. He can barely walk and has essentially Z'd. Deleted. My cousin fell for one of those to catch a predator style police stings. The day of the sting he posted something on his Facebook about going to have a great night. I even responded saying awesome man, have fun. Well, that night he tried to meet a 14-year-old girl for sex and found a bunch of cops instead. Was charged with multiple felonies, got kicked out of his PhD program, lost his job, lost his wife, killed himself 2 months later. He was 28 years old and had everything going for him. Great job, crazy book smarts, a bright future with his family. I wonder what the psychology is behind people who just throw it all away. Do they just think they are above consequences? Crime, specifically felonies. My lawyer took out a loan forging my signature. He's doing 15 years in federal prison. I would have given him the $5,000. His kid was very sick and I would have gladly helped him out. Well, That sucks. My old best friend went to boarding school, had a great expensive education and grades, then he raped someone. The girl called the police whilst he was doing it and he didn't realize it was all recorded as well. Prison for 5 years and registered sex offender for life at the age of 19. An old customer got fired from Uber and Didi for being slow arriving with cold food way too often. Comes into my bar the next day with limited edition XO weekend sweater plus jeans, new Apple Watch and new iPhone, all paid cash. Says he took out a payday loan for $10k and doesn't intend to pay it back. He'll just cancel the bank account. His exact words, who needs credit anyways?